You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Gillis. The 3 biggest mistakes you're making that are keeping you stuck and single.
Jeremy hates it when I go, hey, but hey.
Why does he hate it?
I think the kids do it. My kids are kids. They go, hey, and I just want to say, that's what I say to every single person. So fuck it. I'm not editing myself. Gillis, we are celebrating 2 million downloads of Life Check Yourself, and it's time to party. We're going to talk about what have we learned in the last 2 million episodes from reality dating. And then next week, ladies, I swear I'm going to catch up. We're going to talk Bachelorette. Chris will finish Love Island. It'll be over. Praise be the Lord. And it's going to be epic. But I really just want to, first of all, thank you for being here for you've been part of the 2 million episodes in the last few years. It's epic.
Yeah, listen, that's champagne everywhere.
I feel like we're on Love Island.
Let's go. Mimosa. It's morning times over here. It's been fun and I've learned a lot. And it's a great way to remain buds with you and catch up with your world travels. And so, I've enjoyed it. And even Love Island is finally starting to dig on me as well. So having a good time.
You just can't help it. You just can't help it. So I wanted to just kind of talk about a few of the things that we've just learned over the last 2 years. Just some hot takes as Dr. Emily. Dr. Emily could be on this, by the way, because we're just talking about what we've learned. But anyway, because I know she was going to talk about Bachelorette. But anyway, if she's still around. Anyway, so one of the things that I think is that no matter how beautiful you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter if you come in and you think you're going to be the bombshell or the big stud, when we talk about Bachelor, that if you don't have core foundational self-worth, you will not be able to attract really the right person for the long term. So what do you think? What do you think about that? Because I think the perception is, for those that aren't a 10 out of 10, because really who is, that those people have it so easy. And it's part of their story why they can't find love. I'm not skinny enough. I'm rich enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not this enough. I don't live in this neighborhood. I don't, whatever it is. And they're saying oh, well, if I had this, then it would be easy. But what we see on all these shows is beautiful people still really struggle.
I love it because we've the breadth of the shows, the love and dating shows we've covered, people from literally, from Love on the Spectrum, right, to Love Island, where everybody is, six packs. So we go from the autistic people to people who are just, like you said, perfect physical 10 out of 10s to the Bachelor, the Bachelorette. You're into what? What's the other show you like? Is that about the one on the boats? Is that a dating show as well?
No, that's not really a dating show. Boy, Jack, you know me so well.
Right. Well, and then Love is Blind and all these things, right? Yeah. So we're literally canceled. But you're right. There is a recurring theme where we all feel like we're not enough, and all of us feel like that at certain times. And it seems to be as if we let our inner, our inner voice, the negative inner voice, get a hold of us and end up steering us in those really unsure, right, early dating times where the person isn't leading, constantly reassuring you that it's safe. And I think love it's like a walk on, a room full of scattered coals with a blindfold on, and you just got to trust that you're going to be okay through the end, and you're strong enough to get through it all. but yeah, in the end, but it's easy to say, I can't do it. I don't have the perfect 10 hot boy shoes on or whatever it is. And that's why I loved how we changed it up. And I know I'm bullish on, like love on the spectrum, because I was just so impressed by the bravery. And I think, now that I look about it, those goddamn guys had to be brave in so many areas of their life, where if you contrast it to Love on the Island, where everything just seems to get, at least socially, get handed to them because they're just so goddamn beautiful and good looking,
right?
Where they're all scared shitless to move, right? Where you see like the Sabuds or whatever on Love on the Spectrum. Like, God, it's ballsy, dude. Holy moly. I need to be more like him.
That is so true. And I think that, obviously we transformed over the last 4 years from Dating with Dignity and the Dating Den to the Institute for Living Courageously and Life Check Yourself for that very reason.
Yeah.
Because, you can know all the dating games. It's funny. I was watching Love Island the other day, and the girls were talking about playing it cool, which basically just means like playing the game, right? Like, not letting someone know how you really feel, trying to be aloof, like all these things that we think we're supposed to do to attract a guy. Yeah. And they were just sort of saying like, I can't play it cool anymore. I'm done playing it cool. And one of the guys is like, I stopped playing it cool after like the third day. Like I just couldn't, because I was really into you, and I didn't want anyone else to, to be with you. Right. And so I think that when you are irresistible, like which to me is like just ultimate confidence and rejection proof, you don't really have to play it cool. You're not really playing games, like trying to get someone to do something. You are confident. You have a core value in your self-worth and your value and your lovability, and you're dating as part of just sort of like, your journey in life to fulfill that part of you that wants to love and be loved. And there's a zillion fish in the sea, right? And so you're kind of just like, are you my match? Are you my match? Are you my match? Are you my match? Not like, oh God, please be my match. You're not my match. Oh my God, are you my match? And, and that's the difference, right? And so you're not playing at anything. And I think that I talked to so many ladies. I'm back on the phone now doing calls for 5 keys to become irresistible, which I love. And the thing that I hear so often is like, there's this doing what I think I have to do to get someone versus like really being myself. So what do you think? Like, why do you think they need to pretzel themselves? Like from a guy's point of view, what does that look like when someone is just like trying to be in that energy of pick me, do you love me yet? Like, is this what you're looking for? And trying to play game.
Yeah, exactly. Playing the game. So it's a great little segue, because when you first met me, I joke around, I was Chris the Hunter, and, and that's all. And I was I'm still an avid reader, and I'm just fascinated by, I work in sales, but I'm mostly interested in the psychology and why we do the things we do and make some decisions. I'm like, well, how did, this couple end up with each other? And I got deep into studying, remember, pickup art stuff, all the PUA. Yeah. And then, it's hours and hours, fucking dozens of books and audio tapes and stuff. And I would help my friends, but inevitably it ended exactly to what you just mentioned. It would allow, any person who, deems themselves, evaluates themselves as something less than a 10 out of 10. It would allow them to put on these peacock feathers so that they could get the initial attraction, and they could get the chat going, as they say on Love Island. They could meet the person and then even date the person. But then but the experts ended up finding out is that then in the end, it didn't really change by almost like artificially inserting a bunch of peacock feathers on a scared chicken. There was still a scared chicken, and that quickly that truth became revealed. And even someone like Neil Strauss, who's a very famous book author. He wrote The Game, was like the main pickup artist game. And then he came out with another book, because it was basically like, hey, I was completely wrong. It was all bullshit. It wasn't all bullshit, but as far as being
right. He knew it
just
wasn't the
just
right
thinking
way.
you can be a peacock. Yeah, just pretending to make the sounds of a peacock or whatever it is, and dress up like the feathers. That's actually not the end all be all, and that's not the goal to being in a relationship. If you want to have long lasting love, which they all do. So it was again just about the quick attraction versus the love, which is I think was what's kind of fascinating. Again, you got me. That's one of my big takeaway on Love Island, and for the first time ever, all these gorgeous people. We see it on The Bachelorette all these times,
right?
And it's really interesting to see these people open up and show their vulnerability, and you're like, holy shit, they're just as scared as I am. And instead of they have theirs. Well, I'm just not blank. Whereas us, we're just like, well, I'm just not 6'4". I just don't have a six pack. Or if you're a guy or whatever, girls, I'm just not whatever age or beautiful. But it's really cool to see. And in the end, yeah, dating is fucking scary for everybody.
It really is. And it's that, and what you said is so important. I want everyone to really hear that, which is why, we want to help people from the inside out. That's what the objective of this podcast is. Like you can read the book, you can get the chat line, you can, you can go to the right place, you can, whatever it is. But if you're the chicken, if you see by the way, you're a peacock, but you see yourself as a chicken, and you're trying to pretend that you see your feathers, it can't last long, because in the end, you don't speak up for your needs. You don't set boundaries. You attract people that you are trying to fix or help, or you're putting up with crap from people that, isn't really what you deserve. So I think the core takeaway is you have to build your dating strategy from the inside out. Right. And not just intellectually, you can read it, you can understand it, you can know how you can explain it, but it has to be like a feeling inside of you. You have to feel confident, not just think you're confident or try to be confident.
So how does someone get to that inner the knowing, we'll call it, right? Versus
yeah. Well,
just standing from the mirror going, I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, I'm smart, I'm attractive, versus no, it's what it's there.
That's so great that you asked that, because I was just talking to someone on the phone and she was like, I'm doing the affirmations, but I know that I don't believe it. I'm looking in the mirror, I'm doing the mirror work, but I know I don't believe it. Well, we talk all the time about our process, which is reveal, release, rejuvenate, and then resource, which it's too much to go into here. But basically, it's rewiring the neural pathways, right? It's revealing that unconscious part of you that says, I'm a chicken, I'm flawed. It's releasing it, not just intellectually, but somatically getting it out of your body, right? And then the rejuvenating is you have to learn the actual appropriate skills, because you and I met at the Hoffman process, which is amazing. And it gets a lot of that releasing out and get all the crap out. But one of the things which is why I actually started my business, was well, then what do you do? If you get rid of all the patterns that didn't work, how do you be authentic? How do you have good communication? What is appropriate for setting boundaries? And so you have to really learn how to express your most authentic self in that way. And then the last piece, which is a little technology we sort of added in the last year at the Institute, is resourcing, which means that you have to continually resource your groundedness and your sense of self. You can't do it once. You can't be like, I'm amazing. I believe I'm good enough, and then never revisit that spiritual part of yourself. Right. And that knowing, right. So whether it's a stillness practice, or it's gratitude, or meditation, or being in nature, right? We have to resource that core essential self. And I think that's sort of a lifelong process. So, okay, wait, I have another hot take I want to talk about. Of the last 2 million episodes. Oh my God, masculine energy. Right?
Yeah.
Because women, I was thinking about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, masculine energy, right? Women that have masculine energy.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah.
The interviewing, which is what we loved about Love on the Spectrum, is even, what was the woman's name that was the Comic-Con chick?
Oh, Danny, I think.
Danny, yes. Bless her soul, right? She's not neurotypical, and she has got so much masculine energy, and she's going on dates being like, what do you like? What kind of car do you drive? Where do you go to school? And that's the most obtuse, giant, like, iceberg in the ocean. And then there's Danica, let's just take a recent one on Love Island, who's like, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. She's super sexy, hot, obviously, like, and still coming across as like, I'm interviewing. And we saw that with Michelle on The Bachelorette. I mean, we've seen lots of different little examples of this along the way. So, like,
it's a thing now. It's a thing, dude. In LA, it is like, that is the thing. It's almost more typical, to do that than not to do that. At least I'm not seeing. I know, babe. I know. We need it. I know. I cannot get my gal pals to stop doing it and to stop fucking judging and to stop being like you said. Like we talk about. It's the opposite of masculine. You're right, or it is so masculine. Like they are the ones like with the spears and like this and the shields, mostly shields though. Constantly. No. They're like banging people with their shields before the men can even approach by already. And I was lucky enough to hang out with a good friend of mine, and she's beautiful and she's gorgeous and she's fun and she's funny and she's every guy's dream. Probably like a lot of the gals listening on here, but she's so just convinced. But luckily she was mumbling. She had a couple beers in her and she was mumbling stuff. And I listened to her because she's kind of a loud mumbler. And I was hearing her just judge all these people without knowing anything about them. And it was just, again, like you said, it was just, fuck. And it's no wonder that she's, because people always meet her like, wait, how are you always single? And now, I mean, I tried to talk to her about it and didn't work, of course. She got up and walked away, but it's getting more and more common.
The horse to water.
It's frustrating, right? It's frustrating. It's an easy way to, I think, to just to pack up your stuff and take your ball and say, there's nobody here good enough to play with me here, right? And just go home. And it's a shame because I know secret inside, they want someone to kick the ball around with them, but instead they're like, no, he's not good enough, or his shoes are wrong, or this or that, or look at the way she was criticizing some guy because his outfit looked too put together. He's like a biker looking dude, and she's like, look at him. He
oh my God,
ironed the crease on his pants, and so therefore, boom, he's out. Really?
Oh my God! Well, he'd be a really good popular on Love Island. They do a lot of ironing. I think that's really interesting because I remember when I was single and dating, and like my friends and I would go into any place and we'd do like the scan, and in my brain, this was the before Marni, I would be like, no good guys in here. We'd be like, no good guys, let's go. We were just judging. And I was thinking about this the other day because one of my clients asked about, how do you not compare people that you're dating now to someone you dated in the past if you are kind of stuck on someone? And it kind of applies here. It's like you're making a judgment. You're saying that was better or that was this. And then when you're making judgments about anyone, even if you're not hung up on someone else, but you walk into the bar or you see the guy and you're judging, you're not being present in yourself, right? And when you are judging someone else, it's because you're judging yourself, and it is a love shield. And so that is like a giant, like beep, 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 alert, alert. If you notice that every time you go somewhere, you're shitting on the guys. Look at them.
Totally.
Like your shield is up so high, and maybe that guy isn't your person. But why do you have to make other people less than?
Yeah.
So that you can feel better about yourself. And that is just this tough girl shit.
Yeah. And I think it's good to be, like you said, to be honest, like when you were running around Q's or Arsenal or wherever it was. And I do remember, you were that girl. You had a little, you were like, I know you probably only wore them a couple times, but I'll always think of you being single within like your cool black, like fucking cool kick ass, Lenny Kravitz style boots on and like, tough looking bad bitch. Like you were the judger, you were the masculine energy. You were the one who's there to decide who's going to be lucky enough to get to know. First, you weren't this like docile little flower dress. Not saying that, that that's you, but flower just sitting there waiting to be, hello, boys, and damsel in distress. But you were kind of out there to, to wreck shit. And but it's just, it bugs me because babe, like my friend, my gal pals, you get so dressed up, you throw yourself in the middle of a dive bar, sports bar, place where there's all these guys around, and then all you do is just shit on them. And then, by the way, most of these guys they're very attractive, and she even said they're attractive. And I challenged her and I said, hey, instead of for every negative thing that you point out, I said, let's just play a game. You don't even have to tell them. Just whisper to yourself something that you find attractive, because throwing out attraction can create attraction, right? And yeah, I don't think, and she couldn't do it. She couldn't even humor me and come up with something interesting or isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. And when we think about all these characters that we've seen on these shows, the ones that can't find that place of softness, they end up going so far, but not really going all the way. And they're sort of going I don't understand. Why am I stuck? And that shield is your brain trying to protect yourself from getting hurt. But the truth is that's an illusion of safety, because if Mr. Perfect fell into your lap and was I am safe, I won't hurt you, and you got into a relationship, I can guarantee that 2 years down the road, you're going to get into some kind of argument and your feelings are going to get hurt, or you're going to, you're going to have an emotion that isn't butterflies and rainbows. And that's I think that's really just a big lesson too. If we look at, the long haul of a relationship, is that there is no such thing as being peaceful, happy, joyful all the time. That is not actually the goal. The goal is how do you navigate through life so that you can find joy in the chaos, which means that if dating is chaos and there will be rejection and there will be mismatches and, hurt feelings, because it's all about feelings, how can you be resilient? How can you get back to compatibility? How can you talk about your problems? How can you have repair conversations? We've had so many episodes where we talk to experts, about all of those things. And that's that rejuvenate piece, which is, the skills that you have to learn how to be in a healthy relationship. And that doesn't mean sending 27 text messages that, are, I always do the rule of thumb, don't send anything that the text block is bigger than your thumb.
Did I say that again?
The rule of thumb, don't send any text messages that are bigger. The block is not bigger than your thumb.
I never heard that one. That's a good one. I was guilty of that.
Right?
I'd do 28 jokes into one text. My friend's dude, stop. She gets, you're funny, you're clever, but she's not in sign up for a fucking comedy skit. And it looks try hard and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Mine was the "and one more thing" text. I'd be "and one more thing."
Oh, really?
Blah, 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 blah. And then there'd be no response. Be "and one more thing." Blah, blah, blah. And it's your thing. Blah, 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 blah.
I didn't know that.
So, don't do that. Don't do that.
So I got an important question for you.
Okay.
What do you tell the listeners, the gals out there who think that, Marni, Chris, there's no point in it. I am just not capable of being, I don't want to be, or I don't, a soft feminine flower. I'm not that person. I'm not going to find love. I've gone this many years. It's just not who I am. And there's no use in trying. So yes, I will continue just to be social and keep going out and, and playing the part, putting on the football uniform, all the heavy pads and everything, go on the field, but I'm never actually, but I'm going to walk right in and then I'm going to walk right out through it just to say, yep, I touched the field. So so I can still be social and my friends don't think I'm whatever. But who are like, yeah, you know what? This game just isn't for me. I'm just not meant to be in a relationship. And I hear that so many times and it's just a tough and a lot of them.
Bullshit.
And they come across as angry, super feminists who are just pissed off at the patriarchy and just they're pissed off and angry and not, they're like, yeah, they convince themselves that doing anything else is being weak and not who they are or who they want to be. So they're like, nope, so they're sitting there, like you said, just quick to cut cut men down with a lot of masculine energy. And then when the guys do walk up, and normal guys are like, whoa, this is a little much to me. I'm going to go
This is
on.
a lot. Yeah. Well, look, first of all, I think that people have been hurt in the past by all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to say that isn't real. But what happens is we make the world's problems our problems. And I think it's about control the one thing you can control in your life, which is yourself. There's that famous story in about the Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl. And have you ever heard this story?
Oh, I've read his book, but I don't know what his story.
Yeah. So there's this story where he, is at the end of the end of the end, and all he's got on him is his gold wedding band. Literally, he's naked. That's all he's got. And this guard is like, give me your wedding band. And he gives it to him and he's like smiling, and the guard's like, I just took the last thing you have. Why are you smiling? And Viktor Frankl says, you can take everything I have, but you can never take away my ability to choose. And I choose joy, and so that's it. And that's, the world is going to give us circumstance always, whether it's global or in our country or in our neighborhood or in our personal life.
Yeah.
And so, the thing why I said it's bullshit is because I believe that for someone who's spending their time listening to a podcast like this, there's some part of your heart and your soul, your spirit that really does have a vision for wanting to give all the love you have in your heart and share that with another person. And I hear this a lot on the phone of I've been trying to convince myself that it's not for me. But if you have to convince yourself and you're doing it after you come off heartbreak or rejection or frustration, it's probably not true. Right. So it's that. So first of all, give yourself some grace, because your anger, your frustration comes from a place of frustration and wanting to belong, to connect, which is a human need. And so it's first of all, stop beating yourself up and saying you're weak because you're sad or you're frustrated or you're mad. Right. And then just say well, if I have a choice. So what can I do about it? And we talk on this show, for the last however many years, about how you can take down your shield. How can you have better communication? How can you create emotional safety? It's you can study all you want. But the truth is you have to be in action, right? Even that Neil Strauss guy, right? He can write a book and say all this stuff, right? And then from that action creates a result. And then he's like, oh, wait, I learned something. Yeah. Right. I learned something. And now this is my next thing. So if you just walk in there with the uniform on and you walk in with your eyes closed and you're, just looking for the exit door, you're not going to learn anything.
Yeah, funny. I'm just looking at his book right now. It's called The Truth. Yeah. An uncomfortable book about relationships. So he completely, he learned what he thought was the quick fix. And then he realized that, wait, there isn't a quick fix. I guess that's kind of a overlying message on this. If there was, you wouldn't, what you do, we wouldn't be talking for hours on end. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Last point of what I think we've learned from reality TV in our 2 million episodes is about the power of vulnerability. And you came up with something so brilliant. I can't remember which season and which show, but you said women, their card to play is the V card, which is sex. Right? Yeah. When I feel safe with you, that's what men want. So, that's that thing. And you said that the thing that gets women to fall in love with a man or like a man is his V card, which is a vulnerability. Right. And it's especially attractive, I think. The reason why Chris made that up is because, men have the stereotype of not really being vulnerable. But when, oh my God, on any of these reality shows, when the man
Jesus.
Emotional, even recently on Love Island with Jax, he was such a douchey douche, and then he's crying, and you're oh, now I kind of now I'm rooting for that guy,
right? Yeah,
because he let down his big burly lad guard. But we just talk about. So talk to me about why is it important that we're vulnerable, whether you're male or female? How can you how can you be vulnerable to create connection?
Well, I think the first question is on the why is it important to be vulnerable. I think it's important to be vulnerable because in order to even have the option of being vulnerable, it means that you've done a lot of inner work, like you were saying. It's almost like, it's like saying, well, why is it important to, dunk a basketball? Marni, I need you to dunk a basketball. And it's like, well, it's not you dunking, but it's you. In order for you would have to play a lot of basketball in order to be able to be at that extremely. It's just an advanced level. And I think same thing, kind of like with the women's V vulnerability. It's the last step. It takes a lot of unpackaging and work, especially for women or for men rather to get there, and women as well. Yeah, to get to that vulnerability part where we can do it in the way that you say, actual vulnerability, guys. And that doesn't mean just, we've seen it all the time where both men and women give it up, both of their V's up, right? And we're like, they're cheating the game. You saw it with Coco here on this, on Love Island. And then, we see it. We have seen all these things at some of the Bachelor shows where the guys are just like,
Zach and Tasha, remember, he was just sort of like, we're like, is he going to be vulnerable? Is he going to be vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are just doing it because they're like,
quick.
They're like, if I tell the story about how my sister, fell off a ladder and it I was devastated, then maybe she'll like me.
Yeah. You can tell that, the girl's searching for it. I think I told you, I mentioned before, I had a guy who would he would just go out to the bars and meet a girl. And then as soon as he learned the name, he'd be like, hey, everybody, this is my wife and my fiance or whatever. And then they would hotwire their girl's brains a little bit. And they'd be like, well, oh my God, I want to be a wife. And, so she stopped seeing all the other dudes or whatever. But that wasn't vulnerability. That was bullshit. And he had dating issues, obviously, with that. But I think, it's important to be vulnerable because it's tough to be vulnerable. So to get there takes a lot of work, to be vulnerable. And also you mentioned, what was the word you had? You had it's like the crybaby vulnerabilities, the fake, I live in Venice, will clown some of the Venice guys who are covered in crystals or whatever. And
the crybaby guy, right?
Crybaby guy.
Yeah. I remember I interviewed Ariel Ford on an episode and she was like, just because a guy does yoga and drinks green juice doesn't mean he's vulnerable. Right. Yeah. Or emotionally available.
Loves you. Yes. Yeah. Just because the person can say they love you or whatever, it doesn't necessarily. It doesn't mean it. And you'll know the real vulnerability, like you said, with Jax from Love Island or with Zach, from Bachelorette. Okay, when they finally get there, holy moly, that's the true heartfelt thing. So, I guess it's because to actually do there, it requires, like you said, all the stuff you're talking about, a lot of that really strong inner game of knowing yourself, be honest with yourself and being okay with or not okay, but accepting that they might not say it back, but I think that's what we talk about with vulnerability is not knowing.
Well, and also, what was, oh my God, I can't remember his name now. Oh my God, not Colton. What was the other guy's name? No, the big dude that oh my God, the last Bachelor.
Clayton.
Clayton. Yeah, him, the B card, I love you, I love you, right? Just throwing that all around.
As soon as he figured it out, how good it felt. Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah, right. And he was just oh, yeah, that's totally that's that that's my V card, right? I'm just gonna say I love you to everyone, and then it feels so good, and then they're gonna love me back. Yeah. So it's really about authenticity. And I think what I try to teach everybody and the conversations we have on the show are the way to vulnerability is to create emotional safety, right? We have to, because vulnerability, Brene Brown describes it really well. She's like, being vulnerable is saying something that feels scary when you don't know how the outcome is going to go, right?
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, we have to create enough safety and groundedness inside of ourselves that if we don't get the action that we want, we can be resilient, right? We're not going to fall into a pile on the floor because here's the thing. I like to break it down into two things. We get a stressor or we have a trigger or whatever you want to call it when we get what we don't want or we don't get what we want. And that is vulnerability, right? We say it and the guy doesn't reciprocate, or we had a really great date and we told the guy we liked him and he said he was going to call and then he didn't, right? We don't get what we want. And so that emotional safety has to be so foundational to who we are as a person. Even like when you're out there doing sales, right? Like that's a very vulnerable thing, right? You're putting yourself out there, you're asking for their business. And if someone's like, no, I don't like your brand of scissors, or, I want to buy
you.
from the other sales guy.
Yeah, just don't like you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't like you, right?
I don't know about cute. I'm pretty cute. Let's go.
You're very cute. But you have to create that internally. And what's amazing, the reason why I use that analogy is because for a lot of you, you do have emotional safety at work. You can put out an idea, or you can ask for a raise, or you can do some of these things. And you know that in work that not every idea is going to fly, or you're not going to make the sale every time. And you can bounce back. So it's like, it's innate in you. So the lesson is like, well, then how do you build that when it comes to affairs of the heart? Because when you do that, you can be rejection proof. And when you're rejection proof, then you have that energy of attraction. But it comes from if you like reverse engineer it, it comes from I am enough and I can put myself out there and be vulnerable without falling into a puddle on the floor. It's creating that emotional safety. And that's really, I think that's the key. And, I don't know, some people can do it. Some people can't. I think on Love Island, just because I watched that most recently, even watching Paige with the Jack stuff, she's like, I'm not having it. No way, hon. It's like,
you're getting good.
She's just kind of like trying to ignore her feelings, and then then you're like, can't take it anymore. But so it's just about allowing your feelings and embracing your feelings, and then knowing that they're okay and feeling safe. So we have to wrap up.
Tell me about what's your puddle? Tell me about the puddle. So there's a puddle, is it, because maybe some people are hearing who haven't done this. And like, well, hell no, Marni, I'll melt into a puddle. And, and so therefore I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep staying on the sidelines with my, equipment on, my football equipment, like I was saying, and I'm not going to actually get in the game. I'll wait for the whistle blows and I'll go home and say, yeah, I did it just like usual. Sure enough. Yeah. Well, no worthy people out there for me to bother playing and taking a risk of getting hurt or getting a touchdown or whatever, that is dating. What do you say to that? Yeah. So expound a little bit on the puddle, and what do you mean by, is it okay to melt, or is it about, being able to
I think you're going to have your feelings are going to be, hurt. You're going to be sad. You're going to be angry. It's how can you do that and also like be in joy and gratitude and carry on in your life, right? It's like, am I going to be sad for like 7 months or 2 years? I mean, I talk to people who've been like in and out of the same relationship for 13 years. That's like a lot of emotional ups and downs, right? And the downs that get so low, that's what I mean by the puddle on the floor. And for so many people, like, we work so hard to get over that divorce or that breakup, to climb out of the puddle. And we're like, fuck, I never want to go back there again. Yes. So I'm not going to put myself out there. And what I'm trying to say to you all is that you can feel sad and devastated and disappointed and grieve, because that's part of life. And also like not let it derail you from living your life, because again, you have self-worth, you have a resilience and resourcing practice. You look at life as like, this was here to teach me this. So this lesson, I'm going to take it. I'm going to look for it. And then I'm going to pick the pieces up when I feel stronger, and I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to go back in the game again. I'm not going to say, like, I hate football. Yeah. Fuck this shit. I'm like burning my uniform, and I'm moving 100 yards, 100 miles away from the field and all of those things. So I think that's what we're trying to, like, every episode is trying to teach you something about how can you be restored? How can you be either release something, reveal something, a skill that you can learn, or how can you resource? And all of that is in the spirit of being able to be vulnerable. So that's what I got for you.
I love it. And one more thing. I got one. You brought something really interesting. I've been wanting to ask for a while. I have a good friend, and he was playing, metaphorically on the beach with his, I think they almost got married, fiance, and so it's going to be any sex. But this guy, it was a guy, and his puddle, they broke up, and his puddle, to him, it's been a tidal wave, and it's been going on a decade now of them breaking, maybe even fucking more. It feels probably about 10 years now, and he's like destined, and despite talking to me and trying everything I do, it's like now he like walks around every day with like scuba gears and flippers on and on outside because he's waiting for the next tidal wave, and he wants to. I can tell how badly, because he's always sending me angry videos, like kind of snarky, why relationships are bad videos, right? Kind of feeding that fuel, and I see this with some of my female friends as well, but but what about the people who's like that, the puddle is a tidal wave, and they just feel like, maybe it was a nasty divorce, something bad, and they're like, I can never do this again, Marni. It was just way too painful. But in the heart of their hearts, by their actions, by what they're spending time on, because being angry is just very close to being in love and really wanting something, right? Just another way to expend that energy. But in the end that they really do want it more than anything, but they just don't think it's in their cards to ever happen.
You know what? And this is a great way to end. And my answer to that is go back and listen to that story that I said about Viktor Frankl, right?
Yeah.
Because in the end, the only thing you can control is yourself and what you choose to make of the rest of your life. And with the help that you're going to get, and realize that you do need help, whether it's therapy, coaching, whatever it is, to not make the meaning of what has happened in your past create the meaning of your future. And that's what our show is about. It's about the way out. It's the way back. It's the way to yourself, which allows you to express yourself more fully in the world through love and courage. And next week, we'll be talking Bachelorette. We're going to catch up. I'm so glad Chris is back from his travels. I missed him so much. Thank you for being here on the journey.
Yes.
You're my homie, and I'm giving you a super big hug.
Thank you, love.
Ladies, oh my God, do yourself a favor. Go back in the archives. Go back to episode 87 or something, if you're a new listener, and go listen to a gem. We're super excited. 2 million downloads. We'll be celebrating more in the next couple of weeks. And in the meantime, whatever you do, life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.